What's up, Ravens fans? It's time to answer your questions in this week's Ravens Mailbag. You notice there's someone different standing next to me this week. Sarah Ellison is filling in for Ryan Mink. So kindly, thank you for being here, Sarah.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We're going to get into a lot of questions like, why don't the Ravens do anything in free agency? Is there going to be major changes to this roster this offseason? And what is the biggest need over the next couple of months? All of that and more on today's Mailbag.
The first question comes from Rob, who wants to know, how come we do absolutely nothing in free agency and allow our hardest AFC opponents to sign the biggest names? Well, Rob, I have a 2-point answer for you. Number one, the Ravens don't really make a big splash in free agency because it doesn't work. Yep. Look around the league and see the teams that make the biggest splashes. I'll look to last year alone, last free agency period. The largest name was Ndamukong Suh, went to Miami, didn't make the playoffs. Darrelle Revis went to the Jets, didn't make the playoffs. And then Byron Maxwell went to Philadelphia, didn't make the playoffs. And if you did something a little bit closer to home, Torrey Smith was probably the biggest wide receiver name on the market. He went to San Francisco, didn't make the playoffs. So that's the first thing. Number two, I don't know where he's getting this. When did our hardest AFC opponents make big splashes? I mean, you look at the Patriots, you look at the Steelers, you look at the Bengals. All of them have a foundation through the draft. Whether you're talking about Ben Roethlisberger, Brady, Dalton, all
AJ Green, all these guys. You
keep
can go
going
down the
on.
list.
That's not how it works. You've got to build through the draft, and the Ravens are hoping to do that this year.
Well said. I completely agree. The next question comes to us on Twitter. What position is the biggest need right now? Is it cornerback? Is it safety? Is it pass rusher? Wide receiver? Well, I'd say those are probably the top four. So we'll start there. But I would say if I'm picking one right now, I think it's pass rusher. I think when you look at this Ravens defense last year, Steve Bisciotti talked about how the loss of Terrell Suggs had a ripple effect on the entire defense. And I think really what he's talking about there, most importantly, is the pass rush. Also, when you consider the fact that Pernell McPhee left in free agency, so then you lost the sacks from Pernell McPhee, you lost the production from Terrell Suggs. And then as a result of both of them no longer being on the roster, you saw Elvis Dumerville's, his sack numbers go from 17 to 6. Then you have guys in the secondary that are trying to cover a lot longer than their big plays happen as a result of that. Really, in today's NFL, where teams are passing 40 to 50 times a game, it seems like every single week, you need 2 or 3 really solid pass rushers. That's just the way the game is.
Yeah, I agree with pass rusher. My number 2 would be cornerback.
Really? Okay. Yeah,
Keep building that defense.
I could agree with that.
Yeah.
I certainly could.
The next question comes from Dan, who asks, will Ozzie and the team take a chance on some character challenge players for next year? Well, Dan, maybe. I mean, if there's somebody that they think has a good upside and their past is behind them, maybe. And I don't know if this is coming from this season where we kept hearing, oh, there was a lot of effort, but then the Ravens kept losing, so I understand that. But Ozzie has taken chances before. The most recent examples are, and I hate labeling them with a character challenge, but Will Hill and Ryan Mallett. Yeah. But both of them showed that they are serious about their second chance, and so far they're both off to a good start. And so, but having said that, I don't think you want to swing from this effort team, right, to all these high character or highly challenged character guys. I think the word that I would look for is nasty. Mm-hmm. Okay, you want nasty players, and those guys can still be high character. And the guy who embodies that for me is Steve Smith. That guy talks trash. He's not backing down. He's out there, but you notice he never crosses the line into being reckless, like we saw last week with Vontaze Burfict. Yeah. Okay, he's got all those he's got those talents, but he crosses the line. Steve Smith doesn't do that. So to me,
right up close to it,
right up to the edge, but doesn't cross over, doesn't get the penalty flag. So to me, that's what you want. And maybe stay away from guys that could hurt your team and bring poison into your locker room.
It's funny. A year ago, people were saying you need more high character guys.
Right.
It's funny how the conversation shifts from year to year. The next question from Stan wants to know, using Ladarius Webb as an example, do you think there's an issue with not enough discipline conditioning players? I don't think so. I mean, last year, Ladarius Webb failed his conditioning test on the very first day of training camp. But guess what? He was back out there the next day. He played 15 games this year. So it's not like a conditioning issue for him lingered throughout the entire season. And that was why the Ravens went 5-11. I'm not buying that. But what I will say is that the Ravens are going to look at everything over the next couple of months. They're going to look at the way training camp is structured. They're going to look at how their weeks are structured. They're going to look at the time that they have practices, when they go on road trips, all of those kinds of things to figure out, is there a way to be more healthy and to try to help guys recover throughout the course of a season? But no, I'm not buying that the conditioning is the issue.
Well, in the word not enough discipline, that's the opposite of John Harbaugh and the Ravens. So I don't think that's the problem. The next question is, are there going to be any major changes for next season for the Ravens roster? Not really. Yeah. The Ravens, especially through free agency, the Ravens are tied up against the cap. And they're saying that they may not need to restructure Joe Flacco's contract. Even if they do, it's only going to free up maybe $6 to $9 million. That's the estimated. So they're not going to make these big splashes in free agency. To me, one more thing. There's not going to be a lot of changes on the coaching staff. We already know Harbaugh and his 2 coordinators are back. So to me, the biggest changes are going to be with that number 6 overall pick if the Ravens keep it. Either way, that high draft pick. Here's who Ozzie Newsome has gotten with the top 10 pick in the past. Here we go. Jonathan Ogden, Peter Boulware, Starks, McAllister, Jamal Lewis, Terrell Suggs.
Yep.
If he keeps up that history, that's going to be the biggest change for good for the Ravens this season.
I totally agree with that. And that does it for us on this week's edition of Mailbag. But Sarah, thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
And as always, send in those questions to us each and every week. We love to hear from you guys. Thanks for watching and have a great day.